Right, so the quorum is present. I call this meeting of the Jefferson Transit Authority Board to order at 3:30 PM on Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. And we'll start with a roll call. Heidi, will you start us off?
Heidi Eisenhower, Jefferson County.
Greg Brotherton, Jefferson County.
Two are just board members.
Let's do the whole.
All right, Kelly Olson, Jefferson Transit.
Jamie Brooke, Jefferson Transit.
Miranda Nash, Jefferson Transit.
Desiree Williams, Jefferson Transit.
Heather Dudley Nolette, Jefferson County.
Nicole Gothier, Jefferson Transit.
John Nowak, Townsend School District, and then online, how about David and then Vivian?
David Faber, City of Port Townsend.
Vivian Keel, Quilcene School District.
All right, thank you, everyone. I'll voice my concern that we're inside on a day that's so beautiful outside. So we're going to start with general public comment. Would anyone from the public like to comment on topics not related to today's public hearings? We have two hearings coming up. If you joined online, please raise your hand. If you're on the phone, press 9 to raise your hand and 6 to unmute.
Okay, we do have one person with their hand up.
Right.
Margaret Lee is the name. Okay, Margaret Lee, you're online.
Murray, you'll need to unmute yourself to speak. We are not hearing anything.
There I am.
There you are.
I need all the help I can get. I'm hoping in the future that the transit board will begin meeting every month rather than every 2 months. It's so long between meetings, I forget what happened at the previous meeting. I forget when they're coming up. So I haven't been attending. So basically, that's what I'm hoping will take place in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And I think did I see a second hand?
Yes.
Yep.
We also have Nancy Filligran. Please unmute Nancy Filligran.
Okay. Hello.
You're muted.
We are not hearing you, Nancy. You'll need to unmute yourself.
Is that better?
Yep, we got you now. Thank you.
Okay. This is the first meeting of these meetings that I have attended, and I'm mostly an observer this moment. I'm very interested in the bus schedule and the new routes. That's about the substance of it at this point.
Thank you for your comments. So without any further objection, I'm going to open public hearing number 1, which is opening for the 2025 to 2030 draft transit development plan. The purpose of the hearing is to invite testimony from members of the public regarding the draft plan for 2025-2030. The public hearing will proceed as follows. The staff will give a short presentation, comments and questions from the board, public testimony, and then we'll close the public hearing. So I believe we start with staff presentation.
Jamie, do you want to kick us off, or would you like me to?
If you have something prepared, feel free, and I can answer questions about what we've worked on this year.
The transit development plan, just for the public listening and also a fresh reminder for the board, is a required document through Washington State Department of Transportation. All transit agencies are required to submit a 5-year plan every year.
This plan needs to be submitted by September 1st. Jefferson Transit staff presented a draft of this transit development plan at the June board meeting. Where for requirements, we're hosting this public meeting so that we can gather input into our 5-year transit development plan. And if we are being asked to make some changes or to consider new ideas, we're more than happy to do that. So this is a good opportunity to gather feedback and constructive criticism, things for us to think about, where staff is here and excited to hear that feedback. The transit development plan includes required elements from WashDOT. This document really will help guide the agency for the next 5 years. It also provides an opportunity for us to look back 1 year and update WashDOT on accomplishments of the agency. So in the packet or in the plan, you'll see in the table of contents, some items we have in parentheses required elements. Those are elements that WashDOT requires us to have in the plan. And then there are some other categories in which Jefferson Transit staff has the ability to expand upon. If items are not included in this planning document, Jefferson Transit will not be able to go out for particular loan or grants. So when Jamie is going out for a grant, she will need to cite where in the transit development plan Jefferson Transit staff has alerted WashDOT that we were working on this type of project. So this document is very important for not only for the state planning, but also for agency planning. And again, we there's one chapter dedicated to 2024 performance where we talk about what we accomplished in 2024. So the goals that we had set in a previous transit development plan. So that's a little bit about the plan and why we're here today. And we are, staff is just really hoping for some input in how we can improve upon this plan and make it more effective for the community. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you pretty well covered it.
Okay. I think just to comment that based on the timeline of the plan and the structure, it is written in a weird way where we've already been halfway through 2025, but we're talking about what we're going to do in 2025. So we're basically drafting it in a way where we haven't done 25 yet. So it happens every year. It gets a little confusing. So we reflect on 24 and what we plan on doing in 25, but based on the timeline that it's due and the development of it, it's usually mid-year that we're talking about it.
Exactly.
Any board comments or questions before we go to public comment?
Just curious, like how much, since this is somewhat performative, how much time do we put into this? Not that you have a choice to do it, I'm just curious.
The staff put
Prescriptive, not performing, right? It's
Well, all
important.
right, prescriptive, but
staff puts a lot of time into this document, both in how it's put together, in what we're deciding to, obviously not every single thing that the agency has done is in this plan, but we're talking about our bigger projects, some of the things that we're most proud of, some of the things that are most impactful to the public. So every year we try to take a fresh look at what we've included, what's changed. So yeah, I would say a considerable number of staff hours have gone into the creation of this plan.
and just to be clear, when I say performative, I don't mean to knock the value of it, just the word that came to my mind, but
Yeah.
but it's curious how long these things take.
Do you ever find in writing these plans that you end up limiting the agency? 5 years is a long time to kind of look ahead. And so it's the only thing that's kind of been on my mind about it is things are changing so quickly right now. What does WashDOT, does WashDOT allow any flexibility if something happens down the line? Do they allow you to make additions that then would allow us to go out for additional funds? that aren't
Yeah.
reflected here?
Yes, this is not a static document.
Okay.
It's updated once a year.
Yeah, it's
So
so we can come back in and
Yeah.
update it.
So it's really looking forward 5 years as of right now, but then next year when we refresh this, if things have come up, this document has changed massively. since I
Great.
started here in 2019, so in our goals.
Yeah, that's a
so-
good system.
Yeah, so it's definitely updated.
That's helpful. Thank you.
And to add on to that, when, you know, what I've really been excited about over the past few years is we've developed our climate action plan, which then helps feed into this plan. We finished our COA, and that work is then going to feed into the transit development plan. So this is a 5-year look from right now, and it could change next year, but those documents and our long range plan are also feeding into this document. And really, when we're looking at it, we're thinking about what vehicles do we want to replace or will we need to replace? When are we going to replace them? Internally, we like to say, what are our hopes and dreams? And we need to get them in here, because if it's not in here, we're not going to be
Mhm.
approved for that grant. So at times it can be a bit aspirational with the mindset of, if it's not in here, that door is closed to us until next year. So yeah, you know, to Miranda and Jamie, it's a very dynamic document. But if we don't get something in here and you know, later on this year, we start thinking or planning about something for next year, we'll just add it into next year's.
Mhm.
So it's very fluid in that way.
How often do you refer to the document during the, I mean, is it kind of a daily or weekly kind of guiding document, or is it something you put on a shelf and kind of pull out every once in a
Budget
while?
season.
Yeah, budget season and grant season,
Uh-huh.
referred to a lot.
Yeah.
Frequently.
Yeah. And a lot of this information is, you know, when we're talking about, well, what we did the previous year, I mean, we know that what we accomplished. But it's good to look at and make sure that, you know, if we're getting community requests, we're throughout the year, we're making notes on how we need to update next year's plan. But I think it's, I wouldn't say that we're looking at this plan weekly, but I would say that we're looking at it enough throughout the year that
It provides value to you.
Yeah.
In other words, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the most recent updates to the way you've described dial-a-ride versus ride share? Is this pretty much look like what you've done, how the previous plans have looked, or have you reflected some kind of change or?
So
no?
dial-a-ride and ride share are different.
Different,
The
right.
dial-a-ride is the application-based program where you would have to qualify. Ride share / van pool, we're having an identity crisis. And the state would like us to call it ride share. Our vans still say van pool. We've had many a discussion internally about this. But so the ride share / van pool program is different. Again, right
Yep.
now, we don't have any takers. And it's not for a lack of trying. We've reached out to the big employers. We just haven't been able to convince any groups of 3 that van pool is the way to go. We're working on it. So, you know, it's a topic at the Climate Action Committee. You know, we're talking about it. Recompete, had an opportunity to meet with the new workforce coordinator. She came in and we had a good long conversation about van pool and how Jefferson Transit could support the Recompete program. So those are a bit different.
I would add that van pool or ride share is an auxiliary program that we bring in, while paratransit or our dial-a-ride paratransit is a mandated
A
program.
requirement. My question was specifically, have these sections of the plan changed since the last iteration? Or are they pretty much written same goals as previously?
Pretty much the same. I don't think that we made any big changes to the ride share section or the dial-a-ride section, just that maybe the numbers of registered riders. But fundamentally, the program hasn't changed.
Okay.
I have an interesting van pool story. This is totally it's kind of on topic, but I was waiting to get on the Port Townsend ferry to go to Whidbey Island. And there were 5 canceled ferries that morning. And the first car in line was a van pool, not from here, from Island County. And I went up and talked to the guy and I said, how does this work for you? And he's like, well, on days like today, it doesn't. But I was just reflecting on how we've had this struggle trying to reach out to people and get people to use van pool. I'm like, even the guy who has 5 canceled ferries is still sitting in his Island County van pool van. So I was like, gotta be able to entice somebody to the hospital or that. Anyway, I was like, 5 ferries is a lot of time.
It's a lot of time.
Yeah, it seems like it would be most useful for those like working at the hospital and living in Squim.
I have this.
It's a pretty high number.
HR for the hospital and I was
Uh-huh.
just talking with her last week about this, like, because there's so many people coming from Squim.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just that it buses a little bit the
Same with
wrong
the middle.
timing. They've asked, you know, that
The county has a lot of.
white line up with their schedule, but
My father used to use it going the other way, you know, working in Seattle. So folks that are over here working in large employers, Boeing or something, you know, over there. It's kind of helpful.
Yeah.
We talked to the mill though, right?
Maybe-
So many of their employees are in Kitsap County. It's a logical.
Part of me thinks that
Say it out loud.
that it could be that there's such an ease in driving your own vehicle, and even if it's a little bit more cost effective or a lot more cost effective, I think sometimes people are hesitant to give up that control of having their own vehicle. So at times I think it might just be a tough sell. I think once you get people doing it, that you can really see the value, but I think having people commit to signing up to
should come with donuts or something.
It can be free now, right? With Recompete, it can be like.
for recompete for the first 6 months, yep, it will be paid for. So there's an incentive there. But that's just my personal opinion, is I think at times it can be difficult for people to kind of give up that sense of freedom, like I can do whatever I want because I have my own car, I don't have to coordinate.
Listen to what I want.
Mhm. I could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot.
It's probably many things, right?
So just a general comment from me, which is the report is well put together and looks really great. Kelly, do you have something to do with that? Probably, yeah. I kind of.
Really looked at it last few years.
So great job, because it looks very professional and really, I think, is appealing to look at.
Like the comic book frames and the graphics are a little off kilter. It's very neat. It looks great. This is not our first reading, right? So we're definitely familiar with the document. It's great.
Any other board comments or questions before we go to public comment? All right. So we are now accepting public testimony on the page here. On the proposed Jefferson Transit draft development plan for 2025 to 2030. If you wish to give comment, please give your full name, place of residence, and you'll be provided 3 minutes to speak. Does anyone want to give public testimony? If you are online, raise your hand. If you're on the phone, press 9 to raise your hand and 6 to unmute.
Okay, we have Margaret Lee. Okay, please unmute.
Thank you. I didn't read this lengthy document. I'm inhibited from reading anyway because of my vision loss. Usually my reader will read to me, but I didn't wade through this document. So I don't know the entirety of what it contains. My I'm wondering, and this is my request, that hopefully it will plan for the restoration of Sunday service. Now, maybe that's too small of an item to have made its way into this large document, but that's what I'm looking for. And I think the relative cost compared to some other items might be minuscule. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Margaret.
I'm not seeing any other hands up at the moment. I do have a comment that I would like to read in
Sure.
that we received yesterday. I will try to do this within 3 minutes, but it's lengthy. Okay, here we go. Hello, my name is Shauna Alpadir. What? Altamir, okay. I am Secretary of the Board at Key City Public Theater behind the recent renovation of the women's restroom at the American Legion Post, number 26, and President of Sunrise Rotary. I'm a community builder and an ideas gal, so I come to you with some ideas on how to improve community engagement and mobility in Jefferson County. The first ask is expanded evening service, 11 p.m. end time. There is a real lack of public transportation to support ongoing evening community events, from Key City Public Theater shows to live music and dancing at the American Legion, to movies at the Rose Theater, to weekly events like open mic night and karaoke at the Anchor and Sirens. There is no way to use public transportation and stay out later than 8 p.m. Speaking just on the Key City Public Theater, performances often do not conclude until after 9 p.m. We offer a pay what you wish tickets to every show, but it is easy to imagine that someone who might benefit from flex price tickets may also lack a method of transportation. I would love to know that the theater is truly accessible to all, and that doesn't mean just getting in, it also means getting to and from. Due to lack of public transit, we have had attendees need to leave shows halfway through. We also have employees who rely on public transportation, and they are only able to use the bus in one direction, paying out of pocket for a taxi to get home at the end of the day. I imagine there are other businesses downtown whose employees face the same challenge, especially in a world where service industry workers are increasingly priced out of the housing market and need to live further and further away. Furthermore, the park and ride is the recommended location for overflow parking, as well as parking for downtown employees and ferry riders. The last ferry coming in or going out is after 10 p.m. We should offer transit options for walk-on passengers that align with the ferry schedule. With a population that is ever increasing in age, an estimated 44% of Jefferson County is over the age of 65, I predict that more and more community members will relinquish their cars. Already, there are many who drive only during daylight hours, which are extra short during the winter due to eyesight limitations. I have invited community members to performances, and they have said they only want to attend a matinee show during daylight hours because they cannot drive at night and there is no transportation. We need to expand public transit in order to embrace the senior population and ensure they stay connected and involved. Expanding evening service would also increase traffic to local businesses and support employees who commute to support the local economy. The second ask is evening tipsy taxi shuttle to reduce drunk driving Friday and Saturday until late. Another benefit of expanding evening transit would be a decrease in drinking and driving. If you want to go out for drinks, there are 4 main options: ride with a friend, bike or scooter, pay for a taxi if you're financially able, and drive yourself. I propose that Jefferson Transit consider a tipsy taxi shuttle. I first experienced this model at University of California, Davis. If you were unable to drive home, you could call and get a free ride home. Volunteers would sign up for shifts, and it was a cool thing to do because it was a ride share, so you'd make new friends on your way home. or sometimes end up at a new event. Volunteers had tip jars, but at its essence, the Tipsy Taxi was a free service available to all with the intent of keeping drunk drivers off the streets. It also helped keep individuals safe if they needed to escape an uncomfortable social situation, like a bad date, but didn't have a ride. It would be great to have a Jefferson County Transit Tipsy Taxi shuttle on Friday and Saturday nights, similar to the Dial-A-Ride, which is currently only available for select populations. To support a higher volume of more able-bodied riders, instead of door-to-door service, drivers could accommodate zones like downtown, uptown, North Beach, Cape George, Castle Hill, Glen Cove, Calipointe, Port Hadlock, Chimacum. I have walked an hour home in the dark several times myself. Once I was stalked by a coyote who followed me in the bushes. A shuttle would have delivered me a stone's throw away from home those nights and would have been a blessing. Another ask is expanded early morning service for commuters, Kingston Line, 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. At UC Davis, I took many anthropology classes, one specifically on urban development and city planning. Jefferson County Transit has a pivotal role to play, not just in today's community and culture, but how it develops for the future. As a working professional in our community, I often need to get into Seattle for meetings or business travel. Increasingly, young adults are still living at home because of the high cost of living. Anecdotally, a recent college graduate moved back home to Jefferson County and got his first job. When he and his father looked for apartments towards the city, they realized it would be financially impossible to make ends meet. Instead, the son is working remotely in Jefferson County 4 days a week and commuting into the city 1 day a week. Both this individual and myself are fortunate to own cars and be able to afford the insurance, gas, and parking costs that are required for solo commutes. However, this isn't a sustainable or environmentally friendly model. 22% of Jefferson County works either remote or hybrid, and over 60% of workers drive alone to work. We need to take better steps to support the younger working class families that grow up in and will move to Jefferson County by providing transportation that will support commute and business travel. I suggest a Monday through Friday bus leaving at 6 a.m. to arrive in Kingston to catch the 7 a.m. ferry. This would enable workers the ability to get into the office by 9 a.m. This would also provide a reliable and affordable way for travelers to reach the airport for early morning flights. The last is a suggestion: increased visibility into bus safety. I have heard from more than one individual that a deciding factor of whether they will use public transit is based on clientele and safety. I'm not sure how much of this is data-driven versus anecdotal, but more education around bus safety and procedures could be helpful to increase usage. Thanks so much for all that you do. I would love to take public transportation more frequently if it better fit my lifestyle and needs. I look forward to hearing your thoughts and plans on how service can be expanded to better serve community interests and businesses.
Great comments.
Yeah. Very good reading, by the way.
That was a lot. Big one.
There's still no hands up.
Okay,
Oh.
great.
Oh, there's one.
Oh, now there is? Just requested for her to unmute.
Is this Nancy?
Yes. Nancy, please unmute.
We cannot hear you, Nan.
There we go. I was commenting on the reading of that letter and saying she so thoroughly covered all of the issues that I have been grousing about for 20 years. I particularly miss, in fact, when I first moved here, we had Sunday service from the bus. All of the points she touched on could just be repeated with my affirmation. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. Nothing else, Amanda?
No other hands.
All right. So I will be closing this hearing on the 2025 to 2030 draft transit development plan. It is now closed. The final action will take place by resolution on the next scheduled meeting, August 12th of 2025. And I will now open public hearing number 2. We are now opening the public hearing for Jefferson Transit's proposed service changes. And I think actually the comments we just got were a lot about service changes, but that's great. The purpose of the hearing is to invite testimony from members of the public regarding the proposed service changes. The public hearing will proceed as follows: staff presentation, comments and questions from the board, public testimony, and closing the public hearing. So we'll start with a staff presentation.
Hi there, it'll be me. I'm Sarah Peck, the Mobility Operations Manager at Jefferson Transit. Thanks for taking the time to review this presentation. This video outlines the proposed service change designed to improve access, reliability, and efficiency for our riders. This is part of our ongoing effort to ensure public transit remains responsive to the needs of the community. The video, I'll play it now, but it's also posted online on the Jefferson Transit website. You just go to the main page and scroll on the wheel. I'm probably not using the proper term. Kelly, I'm sure has it, but it's right on the main page. It'll say we want your feedback, and then you click that. Go in, you'll see a link that says summary presentation. So if you want to review it, just go to the Jefferson Transit website. All right. Welcome to Jefferson. Oh, I need to share my screen first.
No.
Here we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. This fall 2025 service change proposal. Jefferson Transit continually evolves to align with our mission to provide safe, reliable, and comfortable public transportation throughout Jefferson County. Our services aim to be cost-effective, reduce energy consumption, and support the cultural, environmental, and economic well-being of the community. Jefferson Transit proposes service changes effective September 29th, 2025. These changes align with findings from our comprehensive operational analysis, further detailed in the following slide. The service changes will affect Route 1 Brennan, Route 4 Upper Sims, Route 11 Shuttle Loop AB, and Dial-A-Ride. The Jefferson Transit Comprehensive Operational Analysis offers a detailed assessment of current system operations. It outlines recommendations for near and medium-term improvements to routes, services, operational policies, technologies, fleets, facilities, and the overall rider experience. This document introduces Jefferson Transit's first formal service guidelines, providing a framework to better monitor performance and plan future service changes. The full COA is available on Jefferson Transit's website. The analysis began in June 2024. In partnership with transit planning consultants Left Turn, Right Turn, the project progressed through 5 key phases and incorporated input from JTA staff and members of the public throughout Jefferson County. The final document was approved by the Authority Board on June 17, 2025. The proposed service changes outlined in this presentation align with the COA network service recommendations. Outlined in the network service recommendations, service changes to Route 4 Upper Sims and Route 11 Shuttle Loop, both under Port Townsend Fixed Route Services, are recommended for implementation in Q4 of this year. The proposed change to Route 1 Brennan under Regional Fixed Route Services is also recommended for Q4 implementation. Route 1 Brennan is a regional service. It connects residents in Quilcene, Brennan, and South County to the tri-area and Port Townsend. Currently, the route is limited frequency and does not operate midday. The current schedule is available on Jefferson Transit's website. The proposed change will be an additional midday run Monday through Saturday. The outbound Port Townsend to Brennan will depart from Haynes Place Park and Ride at 10:25 a.m. and arrive at Triton Cove at 11:42 a.m. The inbound Brennan to Port Townsend will depart Triton Cove at 11:47 a.m. and arrive at Haynes Place Park and Ride at 1:05 p.m. Route 4 Upper Sims Loop is a local Port Townsend route. It services the southwestern neighborhoods of Port Townsend with stops at Haynes Place Park and Ride and major employers such as Jefferson Healthcare. It is the shortest JTA route both in terms of duration and distance and runs every 30 minutes. The current schedule is available on Jefferson Transit's website. A route extension is proposed for Route 4. The extension will incorporate Kearney Street, simplifying the Upper Sims alignment while maintaining 30-minute frequency. This change will expand the overall coverage area and operate in a counterclockwise direction to preserve westbound service on Discovery Road and 19th Street. This map illustrates the proposed change to Route 4. And is a local Port Townsend loop, beginning and ending at Haynes Place Park and Ride. The two current variants, 11A and 11B, operate in opposite directions along Water Street and Lawrence Street, serving the core commercial areas of Uptown and downtown Port Townsend. The route currently operates every 30 minutes. The current schedule is available on Jefferson Transit's website. The proposed change increases frequency to 3 trips per hour, operating every 20 minutes. To reduce rider confusion with increased frequency, the service will consolidate to a single direction, Route 11A, the counterclockwise loop, eliminating the clockwise 11B. This direction brings riders from uptown to downtown with all stops on the same side of the street. And will also utilize the new curb build-out and transit stop at Lawrence and Tyler. The route will be renamed Route 11 Shuttle Loop, moving the A to designation for clarity. This map illustrates the proposed change to Route 11. Jefferson Transit Dial-A-Ride is a complimentary paratransit service required under the Americans with Disabilities Act. It provides origin to destination transportation for individuals with disabilities who are unable to use fixed route services. Dial-A-Ride is designed to be comparable in service area, hours, and availability to Jefferson Transit's fixed route system. The proposed service change will affect the Brennan Dial-A-Ride service by extending its operating hours to align with the proposed midday Brennan fixed route trip. This adjustment will increase access and provide riders with greater flexibility in travel options. Jefferson Transit values public input and is seeking feedback on the proposed service changes. A public hearing will be held during the Authority Board meeting on Tuesday, July 15th, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. Public testimony will be accepted at this time. Instructions for providing testimony are available on the meeting agenda, located at the public meeting section of the Jefferson Transit website. Thank you for viewing this presentation. Please share it with others. We welcome and look forward to your feedback. Okay, it's always fun hearing yourself. So I think we're
staff is just really excited to take some aspects of the COA and immediately implement. I think the beautiful part of the COA is that working closely with Left Turn, Right Turn, we were able to identify things that were feasible for this community. And I think these changes are going to be impactful and immediate. So we're excited about the possibility of implementing these changes just a few short months after we've completed the plan. We're excited to hear your feedback from the public and from the board about these proposed changes.
All right, so we'll start with board comments and questions on the proposed changes.
Here, I'd like to say that I really welcome the Route 1 change. I think it's way, way long in the making, and I'm glad to see it's finally here. And it is disappointing to see it September 29th instead of September 1st, but it still is really great to see that change.
I would just say, as the JTAB member who sat on the COA team, we had a lot of really good discussions about all the community input we've been receiving, not only through this process, but as JTAB board members. And we've heard about Sunday service for an eternity, I feel like. Since before I was a commissioner, I've been hearing about that, and the later and earlier runs thing. And we talked about those things as part of the comprehensive operational analysis, but there are just some really kind of constraints, workforce, just time constraints and capacity constraints. So it wasn't that we weren't considering these long-term community requests, but it was just, we wanted to make the changes we could within the capacity we have.
I think, do me a favor.
Oh, no, go for it, Nicole. I'll come after you.
The changes to the 11, that's a change that Jefferson Transit is making that does not require additional staff time, and it does not require an additional piece of equipment. It will require additional fuel and miles, which we'll see when we get our insurance rates. But it was something that we could do that wasn't going to cost the agency, immediately. It doesn't require us to hire another driver or buy a new bus. And the same with the number 4. We've increased coverage without needing an additional vehicle or an additional driver. The 11, we don't need an additional vehicle, but we staff are recreating some of our schedules to accommodate that additional service. The dial-a-ride component with the number 1 will require a little bit more flexibility for staff and dispatchers when scheduling. But that's why we chose these 3 items to move forward on, is because within this year, we have the capacity to do this. And I think that staff is really committed to doing what we can with what we have. So we're squeezing as much juice out of our orange as possible. That the COA does lay out a longer term plan for how we can look at and implement further changes that will take a little bit more time and planning to implement. But these 3 were really identified quickly as things we could do immediately.
David?
Right, yeah. No, I'm very pleased to see, we've been over the last couple of years starting to expand service, add service to other areas. After a decade of being on this board and coming from, when I first joined the board, transit was still in the process of recovering from the Great Recession. And now we have kind of the opposite problem. We have a lot of resources, but then converting that into service is not as easy as just, printing off a schedule that goes until 11 p.m. or has Sunday, because of course we need the bus, we need the employees, we need a lot of logistic capacity, and that just takes a lot of time to build. So I'm really pleased with staff actively working on trying to figure these pieces out and add pieces bit by bit in a measured and responsible fashion that could be sustained. That said, I do want to echo the comments that the board member from Key City stated, as well as Nancy reiterated, which is, I mean, I grew up around here with Sunday service, and I used to, work in food service downtown, and we had later bus service, and having those options were key for us actually replacing vehicles, personal vehicles, to get around. And so if we really wanted to hit that part of our mission of getting people out of their cars into buses, we're going to have to figure out how to crack that proverbial nut. And then the other piece too, on the more the increased what's the frequency? That's the word I'm looking for the number 11. I think it's great we're expanding it. I worry that we still are not going to be at the level of frequency necessary to get people out of their cars, just given that people have inertia around using alternative forms of transportation and prioritizing transit if it's not going to be more convenient than jumping in their car, which if they have to wait 20 minutes, I think the data suggests that they're unlikely to wait 20 minutes if they could get in their car and drive in 5 minutes. So that's going to be a really difficult one because, of course, if we're running buses every 10 minutes or whatever, that would take a lot more staff capacity, it'd be much more capital intensive. And we do not know whether that would even work. So this is all to say I'm very pleased with the direction we're going. I do think we have to figure out how to go quite a bit further. But that's no dig at staff. I think it's really fantastic where we are right now, and I'm very pleased.
Nicole, since the commenter Hoppender brought up the later night runnings, and we I mean, based on what I've seen, and I think it's been shared, it's just really hard to probably ever foresee the full buses running at that time. Do we see maybe microtransit being a solution there, or is there another service that we look down the road at?
I think it's
It's not really the topic at hand, but it's
Yeah.
running.
I think it's going to be really interesting once we pilot microtransit to see how the community responds, if they're embracing that type of service or not. And I think, this board has talked a lot about smaller vehicles and, what does it look like if we're not running a full-size bus, if we're running, some vans of that kind? And I think that's a possibility. And I don't think that any of us wouldn't be open to that, is how could we provide some additional service hours? I will say, and I think that the board understands this, is that when we're extending hours, it's, not just a driver and a bus, it's a driver and a bus and a mechanic and a dispatcher and a supervisor, and then a manager who's kind of on call. So and then there's a dial-a-ride component as well, because if you're offering fixed route service, you're offering dial-a-ride. So it expands out from that. But that's not undoable. I mean, we can figure that out. So I think launching the microtransit will be really interesting to see how the community embraces that, if they're open to the idea of scheduling a ride, and kind of not, thinking about transit not as just a fixed route service, but something else. So I'm excited. I'm excited for us to implement these changes and then kind of shift our focus over to like a microtransit and looking at, I'm not sure that we've decided on what the 2 and the 3 will be, if it'll be the 23 or if we come up with a new snazzy name. And then start with the microtransit in the kind of the Cook Avenue up in that area, Cape George. So I think only time will tell, but I think that's a possibility, and I think it's a good possibility. So yeah, we're excited.
One of the comments in the letter that I thought of as an opportunity is when Key City Players is doing a play, because you have a lot of people getting out at the same time. And it seems like that might be an opportunity to, pilot something or try something that, you could potentially get 10 or 12 riders that all come out at the same time, get on a bus or a van, and, get delivered to the similar places in the community. So that
Yeah.
might be an
Without a fixed route. basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Movies too.
yeah, movies is what, yeah.
Yeah, and kind of do it as a contest or a group, sort of challenge.
Not too many, though.
Fun. So when you add
The minivans won't help hold 12 people.
That's true. When you add microtransit, do you have to match that with Dial-A-Ride? No.
No.
I think it's not fixed.
Don't think
Yeah.
so. As long as it's not considered a fixed route, microtransit is not considered fixed route.
We would need, correct me if I'm wrong, Miranda, I do believe we would need to have an accessible option
Yes.
for those. So
Typically, we don't seek out vehicles that are not ADA compliant as a standard. In fact, we've been getting rid of the vehicles that we
Aren't.
yeah, slowly. I don't think we have any right now, but well,
Except for the
Vanpool. Vanpool.
But there's a lot of smaller vans that have the lifts.
It's good to have them so you can see grant dollars to replace them.
Mhm.
I've learned that.
Before we get to the hand, I want to see if there's any other board questions or comments.
Do you want comments before deliberation or minute?
I don't believe we're deliberating.
Oh, right, okay.
today.
I'll give a little comment, just
To the board.
in support. One thing, just, I'd love a distinction between microtransit and small buses as we go forward too, because I think they're used interchangeably a lot, at least by me. And I just, in most of the boards that I sit on, we are coping with a struggle to maintain a level of service. So I think Jefferson Transit expanding the level of service, especially finding ways to do that without, a capacity drain, as you just explained, Nicole, is great. And, it's often challenging, I think, coming from an urban environment to the challenges we have here with 400 miles of road and, fewer people than go to or students at UC Davis, right? So we have very different challenges. So I really appreciate the work that's gone into the COA, and these route adjustments are really timely, and I appreciate them.
I would say the later routes, the later options really resonates for me. Wanna Draw a line under it, put a pin in that, hot yellow highlighter, circle it.
After the sidewalks were rolled up.
It just feels like, yeah.
Now just comment on the Route 11. I just think that 20-minute thing is kind of a game changer, hopefully enough of a game changer. But like David said, it's not what people really want, but it's getting close. And then if there was, we get to that point where there's software, you can see where the bus is at. I think that could.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where's my bus?
I guess you don't have to just keep putting more buses on the road, but actually people more focused on exactly when the bus is gonna be there and that.
Yeah.
Because there's an environmental impact too. I don't think just throwing more buses on the road isn't gonna solve everything, but knowing where the bus is at, should help that.
And Nicole, can you remind us the challenges with charter vehicles and some of these suggestions often, I'm not sure exactly where the line comes in, where it's a service that we can't provide as a public transit agency.
So it's not considered charter service if it's in our published schedule. So in our published schedule, we list Wood and Boat Festival shuttles. So that is how we are able to provide additional runs for Wood and Boat. We
It's the spike in September ridership.
Yes,
on the
yes.
charts.
And what we do negotiate with the union, ATU Local 587, in order to provide that level of service on Sunday. So that's expensive because it's time and a half. But if a group comes to Jefferson Transit and wants special service, they need to put out a bid and have that bid go out to the public.
First.
Yes, and if anyone bids on it, doesn't matter if it's an outrageous bid, they would have to go with the private entity versus a public entity. So a lot of times we're fielding requests like, hey, can you add, later service on this day, or can you provide this type of service on this day? And our initial reaction is always, are we there already? And can we get these groups on a fixed route service? So for instance, the home tour, when they reached out to us, we were able to put up temporary stops and we were able to help market. And, but they were able to use the number 11 that's already running. So we kind of solved that problem. But you have to be very careful that you're not providing a charter service. That is, we'll get our hands slapped or more from Miranda. So we have to be very careful with the types of service. And if there's an established type of service, Jefferson Transit would need to make that part of its regular ongoing service, include that in our schedule, and then include that when we're going out for our consolidated grant, to include that in our consolidated grant so that we can use grant funds to support that. So last minute requests are difficult to, and we feel like the bad guys because we're, I say no a lot. Yep.
Just to add on to that that's like pretty much almost a year ahead of time, right? You'd have to have that at least in the works.
Yeah,
right?
and for example, we Jamie put together a consolidated grant application that lasted 4 years. So for 4 years, we had to make a strategic decision about do we reapply every 2 years or do we try to lock in for 4 years? And in 2022, for 2023, we locked in we decided to just go for the 4-year consolidated grant. So any additional service, we would be self-funding at that point. So if we were running an additional, if we got it into our schedule and all of that, Jefferson Transit would be self-funding that service.
Now, is there more capacity, like as it stands right now? Like you see more capacity, say, for next year, if other festivals wanted to request this, or county fair, for instance?
With the county fair, I've been thinking about the.
Busy because you're there at the fair. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about the fair too. I think the new executive director has some really new and fresh ideas for the fair. We're excited. This year we'll be doing demonstrations. So we've talked about ways that we can increase traffic to our site. But when thinking about the 2 and the 3 merging, and that would eliminate that fair stop. And what would it look like if we put a stop in a different location, but folks maybe had to walk a little bit farther to get to the fair? And at one point they had asked if we could run shuttles. I mean, at that point, you were running the 3, so it's like, well, we kind of already have a shuttle on there, but of course not on Sunday or too late in the evenings. But yeah, we would need advance time to kind of really plan out for those requests.
But you said something about the extra stops. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, thinking
something you could do without any extra labor.
And thinking about on the active transportation group with the city of Port Townsend, we're talking about connected routes and trails, and the fairgrounds has come up a lot because there's a lot of trails around there, and making sure that transit is connecting to these all of the built-in trail systems. So that's something that group we're thinking about, and how does transit play a role in that and getting people to the fair. I actually don't know if it's a farther walk from where we've kind of identified a stop than it is if you're parked all the way in the back corner, or if you're at the transit stop. You still have a little bit of a walk to get to the actual fairgrounds. So
thanks for entertaining. Just may as well ask while we're all here.
All right, any other board comments or questions before we open it for public testimony? All right, so we are now accepting public testimony on the proposed service changes. One written public testimony email was received and is included in the meeting packet. I think you have all an opportunity to take a look at that. Those people wishing to give testimony and speak are asked to speak clearly and state their full name and place of residence. They'll be provided up to 3 minutes to speak. Does anyone wish to give public testimony? If you're online, please raise your hand. If you're on the phone, press 9 to raise your hand and 6 to unmute.
No hands yet. I'm expecting
Give
some.
folks a minute since Nancy had raised her hand earlier.
And one from Margaret Lee.
Hello again. I have a bit of confusion about what the reasoning is to the changes that are proposed for Route 11. I'm sorry, my phone rang. I was distracted. Presently, the justification for it is one of the things that's mentioned, is for it going around in the same way, every eliminating the B loop. Is the bulb out up on uptown? On the other hand, if the bus does not go in both directions, think about all the bus stops that have been constructed on both sides of the street over the years. All of those comfortable, sheltering bus stops would not be able to be utilized on both sides of the street. I think those who ride the bus regularly have become very used to the bus going in both directions. It's going to be a huge change to those of us that ride the bus. The way it is presently, I can catch the bus going in one direction, and go downtown, do the business I want to do downtown, and then I can get on either bus going in either direction if I want to continue uptown or continue downtown or go home. In other words, it gives me more options than I would have. And as far as the bus running, another thing that's mentioned is the bus running more often. That number 11 shuttle bus. The bus route's not going to get any longer. There's no reason why it couldn't run more often now. I failed to see the link there that would make it possible for the bus to run more often by it only going one way. Maybe I'm missing something. I'm sorry there aren't more people participating in this public hearing. I admit that I was traveling on a crowded bus recently, and I shouted out, does everyone know there's going to be some changes to this bus route? No one knew what I was talking about. No one knew about the public hearing. Were posters put in all the bus stops, large posters that would be easy to be read, just obvious? Because I'm losing my sight, I miss a lot myself. So I don't know how much publicity has been given to the folks who ride the bus, who you commonly are not, I think on the most part, are not used to going to their computers and going to Jefferson Transit to find out what's happening. They usually read about it by seeing posters. I thank you for considering all the options that you have and your deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. idea. Why don't you?
Okay. With the number 11 and making the decision to eliminate the B and just stick with the A, per the presentation that Sarah did, we chose to stick with the 11A because Jefferson Transit just invested I think a significant amount of money to construct the new transit stop across from Bridges. We are trying to make it easier for the public to understand the number 11. We field a lot of questions through customer service and through dispatch about which side of the road should I be on. There tends to be a perception that we're not running very frequently because the 11A runs once an hour and the B runs once an hour. There's a perception that we're not running very frequently. Providing that service, every 20 minutes as opposed to every 30 minutes, just going one way. We're hoping to kind of establish or increase the perception that we are through the uptown downtown area more frequently. The shelters that are on the 11B right now will be utilized, but in a different location. Shelters are very expensive, so we will definitely make a point to reuse our shelters as opposed to buying new shelters. So those will not go to waste, if you will. We will look for different stops where we can utilize those shelters. I do agree, Margaret, that the changes will be impactful for the community, and staff is working on how to get the word out. I'll let Kelly talk about kind of the outreach that we've done for this public hearing.
So before the public hearing, we did have a bunch of events to talk about those proposed service changes that were coming. So we went to the farmer's market, we were at a bunch of pop-up events, we rode the buses, reached out to people to talk to them. And then with the public hearing, we did put posters on every single bus and in some of the shelters at Haynes Place and here at Four Corners. And then we did a social media post about it. And we also put it on our website in our newsflash and the little sliding carousel that's at the top of the webpage. So I think that we did as much outreach as we could for this public hearing.
May I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just on the bus, like how was it advertised? Just to
So,
kind of insert.
I made an 11x17 poster. Yeah, and it's up on the top row where they are. And then I tried to have it color coded with the two different public hearings. So it was clear that this information, and I had QR codes for each one so they could go to our website, scan the QR code for the information, and have the dates of the public hearing.
And there were emails that went out to people, or
Um,
just finding that's the best way to get people to come to things is to.
I sent a bunch of emails out to community members and contacts that we have within around here and within the community.
I mean, we did everything, right? I mean, it's.
Was there any newspaper announcements?
yes, for the public meeting, 2 weeks prior to the public meeting, an announcement goes in the Port Townsend Leader to let everyone know that they have 2 weeks to submit public written testimony.
Is it in the public notices, or is it?
Public, yeah, it's in the legal section, public notice.
I mean, we have this. The three county commissioners at least sit on a lot of committees, and we have this issue arise a lot of times. So, I've been trying to get crafty with there was a hearing yesterday on our agenda at the board meeting, and I'm like, how am I gonna get people I know care about it to come? And I was calling people and emailing them directly, and but it becomes kind of a guessing game, the best way to get people to care, because we all know that we hear some of these specific comments and feedback when we're out in the grocery store,
I think the only difference here is that she's saying like people that actually use the service and depend on the service
Yeah.
didn't know. Though I think you did it the right way. It's just like, how do you get further than that? Cause that's like, you know, like it's great for everybody to know about it, but you definitely want the people that rely on it already to know.
But if it's on the bus and they're
How-
riding the bus,
And what else you can do, like
Yeah.
on the side of the bus, or, you know, there probably are some other ways, I
It's
suppose.
difficult because we ask people to sign up for rider alerts where we put out information. We ask them to follow us on social media so that they can get alerts and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But you can't make people sign up for rider alerts or social media, and you can put flyers everywhere, but you can't make people read them. So
I mean, I think the whole zero fare thing, that less than 50% of the people in the county know that we're zero fare, and we put it on the bus every time.
Yeah.
Say it all the time, and you know, it's a challenging issue to have people understand.
Sometimes it's just a matter of changing one word though, and a big change happens. Pretty fair.
Word.
Or some other controversy. That's what we need to really people here.
Anybody else?
Have a hand up from Nancy.
Okay, great.
Yeah, somebody mentioned grocery stores. I'm wondering if that isn't probably the one place that everybody goes. And if you're advertising or even, you know, somebody passing out literature, a personal contact would get more notice.
so we did, as part of the comprehensive operational analysis, table at a number of the grocery stores. Because of that, right?
Farmers markets.
In the farmer's market, yep.
And we did table at the farmer's market about this recently.
So.
And I think Nancy's correct because we got a lot of engagement at the co-op. Lots of interested folks. So absolutely, Nancy. We learned a lot from that process.
Just have to contact more people somehow. I don't. It's a car-based society. Anyway, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Nancy.
We appreciate you being here.
And the
Moment.
last note on that is just like the shelters. We put anything in the shelters, or could we in the future?
we did at the shelters at Haynes Place and the one here at Four Corners, and depending on what the topic is, sometimes in staffing to put posters in all the shelters and then take them all down in time so it's not confusing with stuff.
You know,
You mean the housing shelters?
no.
Shelter.
Definitely the shelters.
The bus shelters.
Because Margaret had mentioned.
About how many is that? I mean, how long would it take to do that? To put a sign up in each one and take it down?
I don't know, how many shelters do we have? And that's the thing, like.
Just approximately.
we're out-
There's a lot, hold on,
There's quite a few shelters, but again, it's the people to go out. It takes a few days to get shelters posted. And time, because now you're taking time off what they would normally be doing in their day-to-day of the cleaning and other things too. And then, yeah, they'll go up and it's like, okay, now in a week, now you gotta go take all these down. Now go put these ones up now too. And we've kind of moved away from posting in the shelters, because even then, people need to be able to want to seek knowledge. If it's posted, doesn't always mean they're gonna be looking at it. Even when we were posting notices in the shelters, people would say, well, I didn't know that was happening, you know?
There's always
So,
gonna get that, no matter what, even if you went to the
Yes,
house.
exactly, exactly.
But.
41 shelters,
Okay.
so.
I think we've been trying to take a more dynamic approach to providing information through shelters. Kelly's done a lot of QR codes that make it easy with the mobile phones to be able to scan and
There was a fire there?
kind of steer
Kind of
people
drive
towards
people to our
getting that
website.
information in a more dynamic way so that we're not always having to send people out and
Mhm.
old stuff is posted and gets confusing, but keep making it a place where you can access the most up-to-date information.
All right, last check. Anybody hand up or?
I got a question about posting in the buses. you know, if you ride a Seattle City bus, there's a little banner that is tells what stops are coming up and stuff. And there's also a lot of other kinds of electronic things like that. Have we considered looking at some kind of electronic posting on the buses? That you wouldn't need to send people out to change it, you could just do it remotely?
We have, and every time we go to a conference or the maintenance forum, they're there selling their technology, and it's very fancy. And, you know, every time we ride another agency's bus that has that technology, it's like, ooh, look at that. It's very expensive. So it's, yeah, definitely on a wish list to have electronic, you know, kind of readers that we could just simply, you know, from this building update and have it go to all of the buses. But so yes, that's a wish list of ours. And when we're thinking about how we're spending our money, that tends to get to drop
Sunday.
down on the list, but they do have that technology.
Yeah, I know that technology gets cheaper and cheaper as you go along,
Uh-huh.
but does that happen in the bus world?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Jefferson Transit isn't typically the first one out the gate with the technology. We like to make sure we get a feel for how the other agencies are liking the technology. Is it working for them? And so
You're not an early
we're
adopter.
not an early adopter, and I think we're comfortable. But
Right. One more check.
Yeah,
So
not
good.
seeing any hands up at the
Okay.
moment.
So the hearing on proposed service changes is now closed. The final action will be taken by resolution at the next scheduled meeting of the board on August 12th, 2025. If there's no more comments for the good of the order, I adjourn this meeting.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep, go ahead, David.
Oh, I said just thanks, everyone. Sorry, stepped on you right there.
All right. All right, so I will adjourn this meeting of the Jefferson Transit Authority Board at 2:47. Our next meeting will be our regular board meeting, which will take place on August 25th, 2025.
Just next month for Margaret.
Thank you all.
It is.
Good one.
Thank
Get out the
you.
sun.